Hello, everyone. Can anyone hear me? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from anywhere you're joining from. Right, welcome to Software Test Drive Season 2, Episode 2. So we've been hosting software test drives monthly, but going forward, we'll be having it quarterly. So this is our first quarterly test drive. So welcome once again. Today we have awesome speakers in our midst, and I really can't wait to introduce them. I hope you are so excited as I am. So for people that are joining Test Drive for the first time, so Test Drive is now a quarterly test automation webinar brought to you by Scandium Systems, where we share frameworks, tips, how-tos, careers. We have AMA sessions, and today we are going to be having a special career story from Esther Okafor. So I hope you really stay till the end of it. So today we'll be having a panel session. We'll be having two amazing speakers dissecting a topic and a special career story from Esther, and then a trivia and game session. So I know a lot of us are looking forward to that part. So try as much as possible to stay till the end as well. So a little icebreaker. So today we'll be talking about cybersecurity and vulnerabilities, security vulnerabilities. So as software testers, I know maybe once or once in a while, or probably frequently, you must have come across a particular security vulnerability while you're testing something. So I want us to share in the chats what are the most surprising security vulnerability you've come across during a QA test, or it could be one that is very, very prominent. You could have seen a lot, but what's the most surprising one, like you never expected it? I would love to see some good answers on the chat. So if you've ever come across a security vulnerability while you're testing as a software tester, you can share in the chat and we'll read it out. So while we are doing that, you can follow us on our socials. If this is your first time joining us on our webinar, you can follow us on our socials at getscandium.com, at getscandium on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. So try as much as possible to follow us so that you can stay connected with Scandium in case of future updates, which there will definitely be future updates and future events like this as well, so you don't miss out at all. So today we'll be talking about QA and cybersecurity, safeguarding applications through rigorous testing. And we have two amazing speakers taking on this session. So the first session will be taken by Mr. Oluwaseyi Ajadi, Quality Assurance and Penetration Tester at Inits Limited. So just a little bit about Oluwaseyi. I definitely know that I will not do justice, but I will try. So having spent 2 hours as a developer, he began his cybersecurity journey from penetration testing as a hobby to penetration testing live systems. 3 years later, he works as a quality and security tester, merging the duties of a QA analyst and a cybersecurity tester. The merge of both gives him a unique perspective and methodology for finding bugs, both functionality and security. We have Ms. Oluwaseyi with us. Hi, Oluwaseyi. Are you here?
Hi, Jamal. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Good morning. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. And you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to give you the opportunity now to share with us what you've prepared for us. Thank you so much for doing this with us once again.
Hi guys,
Hi.
welcome to my little space. Just give me a minute to share my slides. I'm hoping you guys can see my screen.
Yes, it's coming up. Yeah, you can.
Okay. Hi guys, my name is Oluwaseyi Ajadi, and today I'll be taking you through a very interesting topic of mine, which is called test case secured. And the entire point of the topic is just to summarize my career in sort of a way. And it's to allow you to see from a QA perspective how you can catch security bugs a lot faster and why you should, and give you a little bit of an edge when testing. So I usually say it's much easier for a security person to become a QA, but sometimes QA find it difficult to become a security person just because of the breadth of the landscape, and QA is already very tasking in and of itself. So I'm one of the few people, not few, but one of the people that was lucky enough to do security first, just by chance. And so over the years, I have built a methodology that allows you both still do your QA and at the same time even enhances any security perspective that you've had. And this is a summary of that topic, which is test case secured. So today we'll be talking about why security in test cases, the OWASP top 10, and I'll explain what that is later, infusing it into your test cases, and the little things matter. So, as explained before, my name is Script Online. My name is Oluwaseyi Ajadi. I'm a quality assurance and cybersecurity engineer. Yeah, I think that's about it. Besides that, I read and I watch anime just out of culture, and I like to write books and poems and music in my free time. So, on to the presentation. Why security in test cases? I live and stand by one quote, which is if it's not secure, is it really quality? Imagine a medieval castle impervious to all attacks, but due to its fortified walls and moats. This is how software is. We think about every single thing when we're talking about software. How's it going to work? How is customer going to like it? But sometimes security takes a backseat. And as the people that are responsible for testing the application, it's sort of a daunt on us if a security vulnerability is found. Because the question is it really quality if it's not secure? Testing is just not about functionality, at least to me. It's about ensuring that the software withstands the trial of malicious intent from people and from everybody in the general public. So the first thing I'm going to ask is, I'm going to clarify is that does this part of my speech require you to understand how to hack? Does it require you to be able to hack? No, it doesn't. It just requires you to understand because the little things matter. Give me a second, please. Okay, back to this. Because at the end of the day, the little things matter. And what are the little things that we're going to be talking about today? If you know the enemy and you know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. This is a quote I really love. Tanzu, the Heart of War. And it basically says that in knowing the enemy and in knowing yourself, and which basically just highlights understanding, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. And the same thing works for security generally. If you understand how systems work in depthly and how to secure them, you need not fear being hacked, or at least you don't need not fear it as much. So today we're going to talk about the OWASP top 10. And the OWASP top 10 is a
Right.
set of security. Sorry, I didn't hear that. Was that for me? Okay, I'm just going to continue. The OWASP top 10 is a set of security vulnerabilities, and it's an organization that came and said, okay, every 8 years, they don't have a fixed standard, but usually they release it and they say, these are the top security vulnerabilities for that have been happening over a few years. And so they come and they release a list, and then after 8 years, they renew the list. After 8 years, they renew the list. And it basically serves as a security guideline for the top 10 security vulnerabilities that are most likely to experience or be hacked by, quote unquote. And these are them. We will explain them more in depth as we go further down the slide, but injection, broken authentication, like that, like that. Prevention is better than cure. And that's to say, I went to go and speak at Ilorin, Deaf Fest Ilorin a few weeks ago, and I had to rush down. I couldn't attend the major event because the company I work for, or a company that a friend of mine works for more correctly, got hacked, and they had to call everybody back into the office. It's very interesting when you experience things like this because you realize that prevention is better than cure. Because if you had seen it a while ago, you didn't have to. Everybody didn't have to rush back. When I was in the lorry, I was enjoying myself, and then I had to rush back. That's fine. So, how do we infuse security into our test cases without knowing how to hack? Well, the first step is to know. You have to know what vulnerabilities are. You have to understand them. Understand what the vulnerability in and of itself is and how it is triggered. You have to learn how to protect them, learn how to prevent that particular vulnerability from happening. And then you write test cases that prevent the possibility of it occurring. So if I know, for example, that if I sleep somewhere where there are female anopheles mosquitoes, I will most likely get malaria. If I don't want to get malaria, then I would have to clean my room every day or just make sure that my room is relatively clean so that I have no mosquitoes in my room. So we then write test cases to prevent the possibility of this security vulnerabilities, and then we do what we always do: try to take over the world. Oh, sorry, test. I was thinking of something else. Now, we are going to go through the learn on the set. Can you still hear me? The call came in. Let's confirm that you can still hear me.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. We will go through the security vulnerabilities. We'll try to understand what they are, and then we'll try to understand how to protect them. The first on the list is a very nice friend of mine, which is cross-site scripting. And it involves code from a user being run on the system. Usually, when talking about cross-site scripting, you're usually talking about JavaScript. And basically, what it is that if we want to understand it properly, usually when you take in user inputs, generally, no matter what form, no matter what shape, no matter what size, when you are taking in user inputs, it is processed by the system in one form or another. But there are two caveats to it. If the system sees this user input and it happens to be code, will it run the code or will it not run the code? And if it runs the code and does what the code is meant to do, that's where the problem begins, because that's where we now have cross-site scripting. So for example, if it runs the code, I can then tell it, oh, spit out cookies for me, or anytime that anybody opens my comment on a website, just make sure it pops an alert and tells them you've been hacked just for malicious reasons, generally. So explaining what cross-site scripting is so that you can understand it better, it is a user imputing some sort of malicious JavaScript into the system and the system understanding it as JavaScript and then running that code. So we know what it is. How do you prevent it? Well, if the user can't type it in the first place, then it can't happen. So you make sure that your text fields prevent anything like brackets, less than, greater than, unless needed. Any sort of code-like material, code-like words. So we have JavaScript libraries that prevent it typing stuff like scripts, alert, just generally preventing users from typing anything that resembles code, especially if you're working on the field like first name or last name. Second, don't let the code run it, which is you have to check if the code actually runs these things or if it just spits them out and spits it back. This is not as common nowadays just because of newer technology, but it shocks you that it still happens from time to time. So now that we know how to protect it, what's the test case? Test case will be prevent the user from imputing special characters because you know that if a special character is imputed, there's a chance that the system would run it. And how do you test it? You test all input areas to ensure that, okay, if I can test all input areas and I can see that there was no reflection of the cross-site scripting, then I'm sure that, okay, when it goes to live and the person and the user decides to do it just to be malicious, nothing will happen. Then, moving on to the next, which would be injection. There's a reason I structured it exactly like this, and it's because some of the vulnerabilities in the OWASP sub 10 run into each other. Injection and cross-site scripting are a lot like each other, and the only difference is that injection is not limited to JavaScript. So you can have injection of SQL commands, which we commonly know as SQL injection, Linux command, which is code injection. So special things like, given a very good scenario that has been found worldwide, it is, for example, if the system allowed you to look at a file based on the file name, there's a chance that it is appending that file name to a command that reads out that file. So if you manipulate it in a way that it reads the file and it does other things, that's code injection in another way. And if, for example, you are logging in, and because every time you log in, obviously an SQL, not obviously, if you're using an SQL like database, an SQL command is run, you can inject SQL queries and see if it would run it. But it works the same way that XSS works, which is systems run code imputed by the user. If the system code runs it, then that's the vulnerability. So it would work the same way of prevention, which is don't let the user type it in, don't let the code run it, and prevent the user from imputing special characters and test all the areas. Next, we have broken authentication. And this is a very interesting one because it's not there's broken authentication and then there's broken authorization. And broken authentication is usually when either the policy to reset your password, the policy to set your password, the policy to change your password is weak, so somebody can log in. And broken authorization is different because that is you are not checking if the person is authorized to do a certain action, quote unquote. For broken authentication, these are basically flaws that allows unauthorized access generally. So it allows you to log in. This can be either due to weak authentication methods, reset password. I've seen some where your reset password mechanism in and of itself is not good. For example, if you're resetting password and you're using a user ID to reset the password, if I know somebody else's user ID, I could possibly reset that person's password and then log into that person's account. So weak password, weak multi-factor authentication. For example, if you're using just 4 digits for your multi-factor authentication or for a PIN, for example, I've seen this a couple of systems I've tested where say like a fintech application and the person needs a PIN to perform a sensitive action. I'm using 4, and it's not like you're locking me out after I get it wrong multiple times. In like say 100,000 tries, I probably would get the person's password. I'm not doing the math correctly in my head, but there are tools now that can easily brute force that. So that's weak multi-factor authentication. And then unauthorized access is a different story. I think we'll come to it in another slide. But how do you protect something like this? To be honest, there are like three ways. I only mentioned two here, which is one, don't let the user use weak passwords generally. It's our duty as the people that build systems to know what is best for a user and to prevent them from doing what might be harmful towards them. And what might be harmful towards them in this case is using a weak password and then a user reaching that weak password. So aside that, what we do need to do is we need to ensure that, and in doing this, we need to ensure that the things that a strong password should be there before the person submits. So ensure that I think it's uppercase, numbers, and symbols. So just ensure that for the person to create a password, they have this particular things in place. But that's the easy one. The next one is test your reset password mechanism and test it very well. Now, reset passwords usually work in one or two ways, give or take. But the special thing about them is, and the easiest way I can explain it is, if you see your reset password using an ID generally, just try and change that ID and change it somebody else's password and not your password. If you see it, for example, a good example would be if you see it using 123 slash 123, try and change it to slash 124 and see if it changes somebody else's password. How would you know if you change somebody else's password? Just if your own password is not changed, then you most likely change somebody else's password. That's the truth about it. So try that. Also, if you're curious, you already know how to inspect elements. So that will be your guide in knowing if it actually worked or if it did not work. If you see a successful request, obviously it means that it worked. Then you need to figure out whose password you actually reset. If you went to reset the admin's password, they are your own. I can't help you there. But these are the ways you can play around. So the last one would be there are certain features in a system that a user must be permitted to use the word logged in to access. And so sometimes we don't check that the user is actually logged in per se. And I will explain that. We usually assume in QA that when you log in, it means that you are logged in, and you'll be logged in permanently. And so we assume that because of that, you have to, once I log in, and I'm just going to test the functionality. But we forget that the way login works usually is just an authorization token. And so one thing I usually recommend from QAs is if you are testing APIs or you're testing anything, just try and delete the authentication token just for play, just play around. Just try and delete the authentication token and see what happens. And if the requests are still going on, like you never deleted them, then there's a problem. It means that you have access to information that you should not have access to. So it means unauthorized access is being given to you, even though you're not logged in. It's not like you logged into any other person's system. No, that's not the problem. The problem is that even if I am not logged in, I am still having access to this thing. So usually you see it in your request as authorization token. So just delete that part of the request and see what happens. If your developer comes and says that you are doing the most, don't worry. I get it every time. You can do it together. Just enjoy yourself. Sensitive data exposure. This is very basic in and of itself, which is as a QA, you determine what is standard practice, even though anybody around you doesn't know. So it's not always follow what the design says. No, it's not like that. It is what do you think is the best, and which is if I know something is sensitive data, but the design is not covering it from external users, then to me that's a security vulnerability. For example, if I'm building a bank app and the landing page, as the person logs in like this, they see the person has 12 million, like $12 million, like Ijema's bank accounts now. She doesn't know that I know, but I know. If you look at it and the first thing you see is the person's bank account and it's not blurred out, that is sensitive data exposure, because what if she's logged in a large environment? That's why you see banks, they blur it out automatically, and the user has to initiate the action to see it. This doesn't just work for bank amounts, it works for pins, it works for sensitive information like your BVN and your NIN if you set them in your profile. Things like that are the things that you consider as sensitive data. And as a QA, what it means is that you need to check that these things are not stored where somebody can easily get them that is not the user of the application. I'm understanding what this means. First of all, don't store password in plain text. This is something you might have to work with your developer with, and it is, oh, I just logged in with a user. I want to see the database logs and see what that password is stored in. Or can I even see the logs when I attempt to log in? I worked on a case once where um, a very interesting scenario. When you try and log in, because the server is trying to log for dangerous activity, let's put it that way, it also logs the attempted password, and that is both the correct one and the incorrect attempt. And so that means that if anybody checked the logs and tried persistently per se, they would have been able to see anybody's password, which was very interesting. So you can just ask your developer, say, can I see the system logs and see what we're logging? Um, uh, so how do you protect this? That I gave a speech, or I think I prepared a speech. I don't know if I gave it, which was data is alive. Data has generally three states, which is data is either at rest, it's at move, or it's in use. So what you need to check is that when data is at rest and when data is at the move, it's not in plain text. So which means if it's moving from the database to the system, it's not in plain text. If it's resting the database, it's not in plain text. But when it's in use, you also need to check that is the data sensitive enough. So if the data is sensitive enough, you now need to come and say, okay, the data is sensitive. Please don't show it to the user just like that. Let the user initiate an action to show that information. So verify that password in logs are encrypted, verify the information in the database is encrypted, basically. Then broken access control. This is the last part I'll talk about, and this is just 5 of the 10. That's because of one time, and generally because the others are a little bit more difficult to explain without showing you. But you can take your time and look at them. Just search up WAP top 10, and you can read about them and understand them. So what's broken access control? This was what I was talking about before, which is broken authentication, basically. And it's basically when a user can access something that he is not meant to access. And this goes back to the part of you don't need an authorization token to access something. But more importantly, even if you have an authorization token, you don't have an authorization token for that particular data you are looking for. And I'll give an example. My authorization token should allow me to see my profile and my profile alone. But the minute I can see Shego's profile and I'm a normal user, there's something wrong. Or the minute I can see how much Shego has in his account, then there's something wrong. It means that there's broken authentication. I have access to information that I should not have. And so understanding what that means, it means I can access information that is not mine. I can perform an action that I am not meant to be able to perform, or maybe somebody else's system. And understanding why it happens most of the time. The easiest way to spot it is IDs. Because of the way systems work, it's very easy to tie somebody's profile to an ID. And an ID is whatever you see. So if you look at most profile pages, you see profile /1, /2, /3. What I usually do as a security person and as a QA person is just let me just try and send that to 3 and see what will happen. And what that is trying to check is, are you actually giving me that information based on 1, 2, 3, or are you actually checking my authorization token to see if I have access to that information? 90% of the time, or not 90, in Nigeria, 90% of the time, they're using 1, 2, 3 to send it. But the best practice is that they're actually supposed to check your authorization token. And so that means if I move from /2 to /3, it's either supposed to redirect me back to my own information or just tell me that I do not have permission to view this particular resource. And this is very common. And the best way for you to do it is just play around with those things. Anytime you see an ID, play around with it. Check if you can manipulate it. The recommended practice is if you see an ID, you can actually fight back and tell your developer that I don't want IDs on the system. I want us to use UUIDs. So you just verify that okay, we're not using IDs or using UIDs, and the person cannot access. So I'm running out of time, so let's just. I was going to ask us to play games, so I think I'll just take one with permission from Gemma. Um, let's see the easiest one here. Okay, no, this should not be the easiest one. I think I just gave an example of one just now. Okay, the site has a sign up page that takes email, phone number, first name, last name, username, and password. When you sign up, it sends you a mail that contains a link used to verify your account. What possible vulnerabilities can you expose here? I'm just realizing that this might take a while. Anywho, if we meet up, maybe we'll play games because of the time it takes to play these games. But I'm sorry that I used my time and we couldn't play some games I would have really enjoyed. On that note, my name is Omotayo Ajadi, or Script. You can just call me Script to be honest. This is my LinkedIn, this is my Twitter, and you can just ask me any questions you want after doing the Q&A. And thank you for having me. I hope that you have learned a few things about securing systems from a QA perspective and not just that it takes some certain level of understanding for you to defend your system. To catch it safe, you need to become one or defend one. So start up with me later and let's see how we can make our systems quality and secure. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Oluwaseyi. Thank you. So sorry that I
It's
had
all
to
right.
make you rush your session. I
It's
really
all right.
wish we had more time for you to be very detailed. Okay, I'm going to bring up my slides up. I know a lot of us have questions, but we'll take that during the Q&A session so that would give the other speakers we have lined up the opportunity to present as well, and then we'll take all the questions as well at once. So if you have questions, you can write them down somewhere or just drop them in the chat so you don't get to forget. So when it's time for Q&A, we'll take them one after the other. I hope that works for everyone. Okay, let me know when you can see my screen. Awesome. Yes. So for our next speaker, we have Olubukola Omotayo. I hope I didn't murder your name. So Olubukola has been here for us for a while. So just patiently waiting for her session. So just a little bit about her. I know I'll definitely not do justice, but then I'm going to give an intro. So Olubukola Omotayo is an experienced test manager with over 18 years in software testing across technology, finance, and property management. She's passionate about delivering high quality, customer centric software and has recently expanded her expertise into cybersecurity, focusing on security perspective for testers. Holding a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science, Bukola has earned numerous certifications, including the ISTQB Certified Tester Expert Level and Advanced Level Test Manager, reflecting her commitment to continuous learning. Her leadership fosters talent development and nurtures professional growth within her teams. Whether engaging in functional, non-functional, or cybersecurity testing, Bukola's contributions elevate the quality, security, and performance of software products. Wow, that's an awesome experience, actually. Hi, Olubukola, are you here? Can you hear me? How are you doing
I
today?
can hear you. I can hear you. Hi, Gemma. Good morning, everyone.
Hi, good morning. I know it's quite early where you are. Thank you
It's
so
okay.
much for making out the time to join us.
It's okay. It's okay.
So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now so you can go ahead with your session. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Good morning, everyone. It's a privilege to be here. And Sheyi already took it out of my mouth. That's what happens when you come as a second or third speaker after somebody else. But it's good. He's done good justice to the topic. I can hear myself. Is that from my side or from your side? It sounds as if it's echoing. Okay, all right. So I'll just just dive in right away. So thank you very much, Sheyi, for that awesome presentation. So let me know when you guys can see my screen. I need to share. I'm coming. This is caption. Okay, just give me a minute. No, not here. Give me a minute. No, not there. Okay, I think I got it now. Okay, hello? So please let me know when you can see my screen. Yeah. Okay, can we see my screen, please?
Yeah, it's coming up. It's coming up.
All right, that's fine. Okay, please do let me know when you can see.
Yes, we can.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. So, like you all already know, like I've introduced, Gemma has introduced, today's topic is about QA and cybersecurity and how you can safeguard your application through rigorous testing. So I'll just go. I've already been introduced, but this is Olubukola Omotayo, a passionate tester, very passionate, a test manager, a quality advocate. I'm very customer centric. It's all about my customers. And I'm a cybersecurity enthusiast. I'm a mentor, I'm a trainer, and I'm also the LinkedIn author of a post every Friday called QA Quest Friday. So I'll just dig in. I don't think I even need all these introductions. Particularly today, I'm supposed to be talking about it's Cybersecurity Awareness Month, so it's a good time to talk about this. How can QA and the security teams, how can we collaborate to ensure that the products that are churned out are secured enough? So that's basically what I want to talk about. So when I start, I'm asking, what exactly is this cybersecurity that all of us talk about? It's the practice of protecting our systems, our networks, our applications, whatever they are, from digital attacks, cyber attacks. We have threat actors out there in whatever format. So the goal of cybersecurity is what we call, it has a CIA triad, and it's not the CIA of the intelligence ones, of the intelligence, is the confidentiality, integrity, and availability. These are the three things, basic things that are in the heart of cybersecurity. So you probably might be asking me, so what has the CIA triad got to do with what's his name? Has it got to do with QA? What's the relevance? So I'll take us right there. So confidentiality means, which Sheyi has also alluded to and he spoke about. It means that you want to ensure that sensitive information is accessed only by authorized individuals. Integrity refers to that you want to protect data from being altered or tampered with. And availability means you want to ensure that at every point in time, your customers or your users have access to information at every point in time. Okay, so for confidentiality, how can I actually ensure that there's confidentiality as a QA? It means when you have applications, when you have products, in order for you to ensure that only authorized people have access, there has to be role-based. For example, if your application is role-based, you have admin, you have an operator, you have different roles. You have to ensure that for each of those roles, they can't crisscross. They have to be able to access just exactly what they're supposed to have access to. It's called the principle of least privilege, meaning whatever role you are in, I give you the least privilege that is required. If your role, for example, we have the HIPAA rule for the health sector. If, for example, I have a technician, for example, I have the doctors, I have the nurses, you must ensure that the technician does not have access to customer records. So it means, for example, if you have a product or if you have an application used by the health sector, if a technician logs in, you must ensure that he has access only to what his role should have. He should have least privilege. So that's what confidentiality means. You have to ensure that when you are testing your applications, be very intentional. It's not just, I've logged in, yes, he can do this. I've logged in. Most probably, when you are testing, the developer most times would have put into consideration what the application should do. Your perspective should be from what it shouldn't do. In fact, most times when I test, and that's what I also advocate in my teams, I don't want to come out from the known, because I know the developer most probably would have thought about it. I'm coming from the unknown. I want to see if I log in as a technician, for example, using the use case or the hypothetical case that I'm using. Can I see patients' records? So that's what confidentiality means. So it means that even as testers, you must put this in proper perspective. Integrity means whatever data I have, it must not be altered. I have to ensure, for example, that if I'm doing a transaction and I say I post 20,000 Naira or $20,000, when it gets into the database, it remains as that. It means you begin to talk about hashing. You begin to talk about checksum. Meaning, for example, I've worked a lot in the financial sector, so I'm very particular about this, because it means if I have a database administrator, for example, that has access to database and decides to be smart to change certain things, I may decide to go change how much I have in my account balance from 10,000 to 1 million because I have access. So the question is, whatever application is accessing the database must be able to identify that this data has been tampered with. That's where checksum comes in, for example. So those are the kind of things that you put in. I need to hurry up here. Then availability lets us know that at every point in time, when I need to access a product is available. Now you're going to talk about performance. For example, when we have peak periods, are your users or your customers, are they able to access your application? That's where we talk about performance, like performance testing, those kind of things, like failovers. Try, if you guys have DRs, you have disaster recoveries, let's test a failover. If something goes on, can there be an automatic switch? Those are what we're talking about. All right, so let's move on to why. Why should the QA and cybersecurity, and why should they collaborate? We know, for example, that there are lots of threat actors out there. If you've read the news very well from time to time, you always hear about cyber attacks. It's not enough for the QA to do. In fact, I've rarely found a scenario where the QA also doubles up as the person doing security. So there has to be a collaboration. So if they do collaborate, then we do have a very formidable application or products that come out. So how do they do this? When we come together and we have a collaboration between those two things, we can quickly detect vulnerabilities. We can cover test coverage better. I can do functional, they can do penetration testing, do vulnerability assessments. And then this one in particular, the third one, I highlighted it because this is very particular. I can give, for example, security teams or even me, we're just thinking secure, ensure things are tight. But I, as a QA, can come to say, see, I have to have a customer perspective. Guys, we can't lock the doors such that even the legitimate people can't come in. So we can rub minds together. I can give them a customer-centric perspective to testing or to what the application is like, so that they just don't lock the door. And we also lock out even our people that are legitimate. We can get to share knowledge. There have been times when you do penetration testing and you get feedback. There are things you see that they highlight as vulnerabilities. Both of you can begin to share ideas and, oh, so this is what this means, and the likes, and all these other ones. I need to rush so that I make sure that I cover the slides. All right, also, when we do collaborate, we can prevent a lot of losses, financial loss, data loss, operational disruptions. You can have distributed DOS attacks, reputational damage, which sometimes it's irreversible. So we can prevent this. Those are part of the reasons why the collaboration really does matter. All right, so we now have how has QA role evolved over the years? So interesting, I have this video. Don't worry, we just play in 1 minute. While it's playing, I would also let you know. We can watch. So is that between 1930 and 2021. I like you to pay attention to online. It was at the bottom for a while, and over the years, how it has shifted. Let's move on to okay. I think it's finished. So you can see how this has, how do people meet? People meet where we all are together, where there is interactions. So see, you can see the transition between 1930s, and if you looked at that, it peaked at 2000 up until 2024, and it has gone to be the number one means by which couples meet. You meet because you interact. So it lets us know that a lot of interactions are going on online. So it means that online, by what means are people interacting? Different applications, different apps. So it lets you know. And where you have a lot of people, it means you have the good, the bad, and the ugly. So that it lets you know there are lots of threat actors. So it brings to mind that for a QA person, I can no longer just be talking about functionality when I'm testing. It means I have to begin to have the perspective and have the thinking of how can I secure my applications? Just like what's his name said. I tell my people, I said, to catch a thief, not sometimes, you do have to think like a thief. So our role has evolved over the years. I'm no longer just testing that something works. I have to ensure that it is secure and look at it from every side in order for me to ensure that it is secure. So you can say, I asked, your application works well. Yes, I agree. But is it secure? All right. Now, so we come to the OWASP top 10. You cannot avoid the OWASP. OWASP is a widely recognized list that is published by the Open, it used to be called WEB, but it's now Open Worldwide Application Security Project. And for web applications, they have, it's like I said, it's top 10. And in 2017, these was the hierarchy. AO1 comes to the top. But you would notice that in 2021, OWASP 2021 is the most recent one. The next one should come out next year. They're already gathering, the data for that. Broken access control came right from number 5 and rose to number 1 in 2021. So it lets you know, and I was happy that I also saw that she also talked about broken access control. So it lets you know that this is number 1. It lets you know that is what is going on around the world globally. So OWASP top 10 is what I will ask us to, and it has other projects. It has for mobile apps, it has for APIs, this is for web application. So these are the kind of things you can begin to look at when you want to talk about, you want to have an understanding. Okay, so when I talk about these OWASP and then for broken access control alone, you have a myriad of things that you can test. For example, here, I'm saying how do you integrate security testing into your functional QA process? You have different ways. You have authentication testing. How do I do authentication testing? Those are part of what I had explained to us. You verify that only authenticated users have access to certain information. How can I do authorization testing? You want to verify, you want to ensure that, people are, have permissions to have access to certain things, input validations, database testing, error handling testing, and I really love this part, logging and monitoring. Guys, this is very critical. Ensure for whatever it is that you are testing that the log is intact. I tell my people, if that application sneezes, I want to see it on the logs. If the application coughs, I want to see it on the log that it coughed. So because when it comes to incident responses and you begin to troubleshoot, those are the trails that are left behind. You can see if a threat actor, for example, invades your space, it's from the logs. If you do not have logs, then you do not have the footprints. in order for you to identify what has happened. So that is very, very important. And I also shared some resources here, all of them OWASP. All right, then I move to also, in addition, in order for you can integrate security testing into your test strategy. For example, in your organization, you can introduce it. Test strategy doesn't particularly talk about the role of testers. It's just about the test strategy of your organization. And with the shift left approach, we're advocating for testing to start early. Especially if you're going through agile, it's waterfall that usually will go through the development life cycle, and they would have finished development before it gets to your test. But here we're saying let it be on all encompassing, meaning you have secure coding practices such that your developers are aware what to put into consideration. You do static security testing, you do dynamic, that's where penetration testing comes in. And then there are regular vulnerability assessments. All right, I have a case study here. Don't worry, I won't take too long. This case studies about the Equifax. Equifax is like one of the credit bureaus that they use in the US for accessing people's credit history. And here you have people's security, your social security is there, your date of everything is there. And then there was a breach in 2017. That's to just let you know that this thing is global and why something very little can matter. What was the reason why there was this breach? There was a flaw in the web application that they used for their customer dispute processing. It allowed attackers to manipulate the data and they gained unauthorized access. And once they did, they just harvested 143 million customers. You can imagine social security number is very important. It's like it can lead to identity theft. So they were able to harvest all that simply because of a flaw, such that they did not have robust authentication mechanisms. Something as simple as that created the data breach. All right, so how do we build strong QA security partnership? We need to. You can have regular cross-functional communication. Just have time together where you guys are sitting down and you talk. You have joint security reviews during your sprints. For those that have that into DevOps, you can have the DevSecOps. That's where the developers, the security teams, and the operation teams. We've moved from the DevOps alone now. Now we need to bring the We need to bring the operations into it as well. So you have the development team, of course, which comprises development teams, refers to developers and QA and testers, the security and the operation, so that everybody comes as a synergy between the three. You can have security awareness training for the testers, penetration testing, continuous monitoring, threat modeling. You want to model, let's create a use case where there can be some form of cyber attacks. And let's go ahead and test it and let's see how it works. And then you can also share tools, collaboration tools, so that all of you can collaborate. All right, then how do you upskill? For example, there's been a lot of banter about cybersecurity out there. I'm a tester. How do I, I need to let you know, you do not need a cybersecurity degree in order for you to be security conscious as a tester. One, I can advise you just have a good understanding of security vulnerabilities. OWASP is particularly very good. If you decide you want to sit down and take it one, like I mentioned earlier, even just the broken access control alone has a lot. It also even gives you a testing guide. So it breaks it down granularly into what you can actually test. It's not above your head. It's something you can actually relate to. Then you can optionally learn security testing tools. Things I learned, like Bob Suite. Bob Suite is a popular tool used for identifying vulnerabilities in web applications. You could decide you want to. It's optional. Like I told you, I have rarely seen a situation where the organization model lays it upon the tester, the testing team or the QA to also do security, like the penetration testing and that. I haven't seen it. However, it also lets you can just, as I said, optionally, if you want to, you could learn it just out of curiosity, because it also opens up your mind and you get perspectives that you probably didn't know. At least that was what it was for me. Using some of those tools opened my eyes to certain things that I didn't realize, or maybe it helped me understand the gravity of certain things. Then, as I also mentioned, participate in security-focused training. Just open up your minds. That's how I would like to recommend that QA professionals can upskill. Then in conclusion, I will conclude with this. In spite of where you are, in spite of the skills that you have right now, what is important? I tell people, as a test manager, when I'm recruiting, I can transfer skills. If you don't know, I don't mind. I can transfer skills, I can transfer knowledge. In fact, I really love that a lot. I do a lot of knowledge sharing. However, I cannot transfer attitude. I'd rather recruit someone with no skills but lots of great positive attitude than someone that has skills but with a bad attitude. So I want to encourage you that it's a career tip. It's taken from Doug McCullen's success ideas that no matter where it is you are, what I want to tell you is do a great job of whatever is given to you. Yeah, everybody's talking about security. You probably do not have security skills yet. That's okay. But with whatever you have, what are you doing with it? Nothing is too small. You never can tell what it is you do that is going to elevate you or give you an opportunity. Opportunity never comes up and shows up with a placard telling you it's an opportunity. It always comes in form of work to do, plenty work to do. So always do a good job of whatever is given to you. Never, never underestimate the value of work given to you. I could give you examples of how I rose through the ranks. Like I told you, even though I manage people, I'm still a very passionate tester because that's just me. But just be excellent. Whatever it is that you are doing, ensure you do it well and always do more than what is given. I tell people, I won't promote you because I can see that you're doing well. Yes, you're doing well and I can see that, but I want to see that you're ready for that next level. I want to see that you have capacity for that next level. If you're already doing, I look at you and I'm like, wow, this person is already, I can see the productivity is looking like a supervisor, looking like a manager, then it's obvious that this person is there. So just don't say, that's all they've paid me to do. After all, I'm not paid to do that. Guys, put in the work because you learn nothing is ever too small. And lastly, do it as a team. Always look at things collaboratively. And what I always encourage, keep learning, keep learning, keep learning, keep learning. Nothing is too small. All right. So I would like to believe that these are some of the takeaways that we would have taken away from today. The evolving role of QA in application security. How can you incorporate security testing into QA processes? What are the best practices that you have for collaboration between QA and security teams? And then I hope I've been able to let us know ways by which you can upskill and become more security aware. Well, apparently I don't think we're supposed to take question and answer now, but it's okay. So thank you all very much for your time. I hope you have been able to give wisdom, one or two today. Thank you very much. And thank you, Scandium, for the opportunity. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Olubukola, for such an awesome presentation. I paid attention from beginning to end. As you can see, people are still dropping emojis because we all loved it, honestly. Thank you so much for that.
My pleasure.
Okay, so because of time, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so I can introduce our third speaker for the day. Let me know when you can.
I think I need to stop sharing.
Let me know when you can see my screen. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it was.
Nice.
Okay. Awesome. Yes. Thank you so much once again. So for our next speaker, we have a very special career story by Esther Okafor, a quality assurance engineer at Storyblock. So just a little bit about Esther. So Esther serves as a quality assurance engineer at Storyblock. Esther applies her passion for ensuring the highest quality standards to developing and maintaining robust software products. With over 4 years of experience in the industry, He has trained and mentored over 100 women in tech through initiatives like She Code Africa and the Bug Detective. Esther is committed to helping others succeed and has written several blog posts that provide essential guidance to quality assurance professionals, helping them excel in their day-to-day roles. So today, Esther will be sharing with us her career story, her journey, how she got started, and what has led her all through the way to where she is at this point. Hi, Esther. How are you doing today? Thank you for joining us.
Hello, IJ. I'm doing fine. How are you too?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay,
Someone has
the
his hands
first.
raised up. Abdullah.
Okay, yeah, we'll take questions after the whole session.
Okay, okay. Yeah. Thank you, IJ. Beautiful session. That's nice. I feel like I'm echoing. I don't know.
Okay, I'm going to mute now.
Okay. So before I start, I loved the last session, and I want to share a blog post that I wrote about API security and QA engineers guide to OAP's top 10. I shared the link. I wrote that on my blog like a couple of weeks ago, and I don't know, for some reason I've not shared it on LinkedIn. I don't know what I'm waiting for, but that's good. So today I'll be sharing my career story, how I started in QA and how it led me to working with Storyblock currently. So I'm a mass communication student. I never read science. I didn't know anything about tech, but as God will have it, I found myself in tech. And there is one thing, I don't know, I think there's an adage that say whatever you find yourself doing, you do it well, right? So I think that's what has been keeping me going, right? So I started my career in 2020. Before 2020, I joined HNG bootcamp, just like every other person that wants to, learn something in tech. I was learning front end development, but nothing was sticking in my head. I knew HTML, I knew CSS. I tried to learn JavaScript, but it became really difficult for me for some reason, and I could not go on with JavaScript. The funny thing is, after learning JavaScript, I did not, understand JavaScript, and I thought I should learn C sharp. And I don't know what brother I did to my head, because I cannot understand JavaScript. How will I learn C sharp? I was just dreaming. But you're laughing at me. So I just abandoned the whole coding thing because I just said no, this is not my thing. And in March, I was speaking to someone from Twitter, and the guy told me there's a boot camp happening in his company that I can join, because I was already so tired. I was talking to everybody. I can, developer, product designer, anybody. I'll just tell you my story. You get. So this guy told me to join the boot camp. I joined the boot camp. So when I joined the boot camp, I was saying, I will now go to front end development again. God, I don't want front. I cannot code. I've seen that I cannot do this thing. So I saw this channel, software testing. So when I saw it, I was like, software, what's software testing? I just went online, I typed software testing, and I was like, oh, ensuring that the application is good for users before push it out, testing to ensure. I will not code. I asked them on the channel, so that will I code? I said no, I don't need to learn coding. I don't know that they were scamming me. And I said, okay. I joined the channel as long as I will not code. So when I joined the channel, I discovered that we're very few. We're like 5 people in that channel. When I saw 5 people, I was like, hey, I hope this one is a good career like this. So this one, that's only 5 people joined the channel. So we started learning software testing, and all of that stuff. I was learning how to have the first thing they taught us is software testing. You have to have a testing mindset. I wasn't really paying attention in the camp, right? But, one thing that happened in that boot camp was I didn't pay attention. So, like 2 weeks to the end of that boot camp, I was now very curious about software testing. That from the beginning of all the materials they sent, I just compiled everything into my Google Drive, and I formed a very good note about it. And then I sent it to the group that, just in case any other person wants to learn, I've been able to compile everything that we have learned, and I put it on this Google Drive. And everybody was like impressed. They're like, "Oh, Esther, thank you." I didn't know that people that did not understand this stuff like me too, they were there. I thought it's everybody that was understanding the thing. So at the end of the boot camp, they gave us a project. I didn't do the project, to be honest. Everybody submitted. I think they said only 2 people submitted. There were 3 that did not submit. Funny enough, the deadline of the submission has passed, and then a week later, one of the mentors reached out to me on Slack and was like, "Esther, I did not see your project." And I'm like, "Oh, this thing that I did not want to do, this guy has come to drag me to do it now." And I just lied. I said, "Oh, I was sick. That's why I did not do it." And the guy now said, "Okay, we'll give you time. Give you 2 days. Now that you're okay, do it." And I checked and I said, "Okay, no problem." So I went to check the project. I saw the project was about API testing. They gave us an endpoint. It was a food vendor endpoint, and then told us to test it. And that was my first time hearing about Postman. So I had to pick my friends. I didn't have a laptop. I picked my friend's laptop and I downloaded Postman. I was in Osun State then because I served at Oshogbo. So I picked it up. I started learning. I started doing Postman. And then I saw that you have to, because Postman has this documentation. I just quickly went through the documentation. And then I saw you have to run the endpoint, look at the responses. And then I created a test case sheet using that. And I submitted. And what happened was, after the boot camp, they picked somebody to join the company. It wasn't me. They didn't pick me. They picked the first girl that submitted the project, right? So unfortunately, the girl already got a job. You see how God works. The girl got a job. So when they reached out to her, she wasn't available anymore. So the next person was me. And then they immediately reached out to me that, "Oh, am I available?" I was like, "Yes, so I'm available." That was how I joined Venture Garden Group as a tester, a novice tester. The funny thing was the CV I sent to them, the email was wrong. The email on the CV was wrong. So when they sent me interview, I did not see it. So the HR called me. I was like, "Esther, you're supposed to attend an interview by 12. And this is like 12:30. I was like, "Are you did not send me interview invite though?" And the guy said, "Oh, no, we did. What's your email address?" And I pasted in my email address. And he was like, "Oh, the one on your CV is wrong." I was like, "Hey, wahala. Hey, devil." Nigerians, my first thing, what we say is our village people, devil. Oh. So what happened was, the guy was like, "Oh, the head of QA said you can resume so date and there's no need for you to do the interview." I was like, "Hey, thank God. Oh. Waiting, I won't go even talk for interview." That was what came to my head. What will I say in the interview? So, the whole thing was so funny, and sometimes when I think about it, I was like, I think this is just God directing me to this path, right? And then I joined VGG. Glory be to God. From VGG, I went to Remoni, I went to Flutterwave. And let me give you a brief history on Remoni and Flutterwave. The way I joined Remoni, when I joined the company, after I've gotten the offer, one of the QA reached out to me after like a month and was like, "Esther, we thought you didn't know anything. No. We're planning to come and teach you on this job." And I was like, "Really?" The guy was like, "During your interview, you were so nervous and you didn't sound very confident, right? But the QA manager didn't want to pick you. But I told him that we can just pick her and then brush her up. She seems like somebody that wants to learn. And you came on the job and you were doing excellent things, and we're like, is it not this girl that we thought, didn't know anything? And the guy was just, I said, really? Is that what you guys thought? He said, yes. I said, sometimes interview can be funny, just, for me, I do say that interview is not the true test of if someone knows something. There are some people that will cram and enter interview and do excellently well, but on the job, they are not good. But then I thank God I was able to I was able to cross mine. And after Remoni, I went to Flutterwave after like 6 months in Remoni. And the funny thing about Flutterwave is I was on a Twitter space talking about QA. It was a women in tech Twitter space talking about QA. And one of the HR Flutterwave was joining that Twitter space. And after the space, the person just reached out to me on Twitter and was like, would I like to join Flutterwave? I was like, yeah, Flutterwave, from where to where? I mean, that was how I just got Flutterwave like that. It's just God, directing me. I mean, that's how I see it. And the good thing about everything is when I go on the job, I always do good work, right? That's the best part. I'm a good communicator, and I like to take ownership of whatever project I'm giving. But the first 3 months when I joined Flutterwave, the team lead reached out to me and it was like, I've changed the mindset of the team, because when the developers that were there, they were just writing APIs and they were not really checking for quality in their APIs. But when I joined the company, I was able to bring out that quality mindset that when you are writing your APIs, this is what you look out for. Don't just send API to me. What I want to test and say that this thing is good. I don't want to test and say and give it back to you. Even if I catch something, let it be something that is not so glaring that I believe that you as a developer should have picked it up when you are, testing your own APIs yourself. So yeah, basically I communicate well, I take ownership of whatever project I'm giving. I bring value to the team. Every team I've been on, I bring value to it. And also I have that mindset of, quality, right? So another thing that has helped me again is another thing that has helped me again is oh, someone is saying something. Okay. Okay. Another thing that has helped me again is social media, right? Um
You might have to mute your mic. It's echoing from your side.
IJ, can you mute, please? Yes, thank you, Shay. So another thing that has helped me again is social media. I'm always trying to share my knowledge, and whatever I learn, I try to see if I can train people on that thing just to make it stick in my head. I feel like that's how I've been able to grow my skills. If I learn a new thing, I want to train other people so that once I'm training you, I'm also learning more and then it's sticking to my head. Right from my first year of QA, I already volunteered to train. The bug detective, I'm already training people with Abiola and saying, okay, we have 6 people in our boot camp, let's train them. That's how it has always been for me, and it has helped me a lot. And then I picked up writing too later. I created my blog when I learned, especially when I was struggling with Postman. That was the main reason why I created that blog, right? So that I can share what I'm learning on Postman and then other people can learn. And I always say that anytime I post, I always say, if you have comments, drop them. Even this OAPS top 10 that I wrote, someone dropped a comment on my blog to write about it. That was why I was like, okay, I've never heard of OAPS top 10 before, right? And then I started researching about OAPS. I was like, oh, this is a thing. And I wrote about it. I mean, writing about it, as I'm writing, I'm also learning too, right? That's it. And how I got to Storyblock, I mean, the main reason how I got to Storyblock is I wanted to earn foreign currency. I was seeing people earning foreign currency, and I was like, okay, right. I think it's high time I earn too. And I was looking at my experience. I'm just like 2+ years into this thing, with Storyblock employing me like this. With any foreign company even employ me. And I'm like, it's not by number of years, it's by what you can do. And when I applied to Storyblock, they responded to me. And the first interview, after the first interview, the second interview, they gave me a Cypress test. Let me laugh. They gave me a Cypress test, and I was like, in fact, Cypress, I've never even used Cypress up to 3 months before they gave me that test. What do I want to code? What do I want to write here? And I was like, no, this interview, I must pass it. So what I did was I did pair programming with my friend. She's a good JavaScript writer. And she was like, no, this one, you'll get it. And then we're on a call throughout the night. We're writing the assessment together. And she was telling me, oh, this is how you write this function in Cypress, and this is how you do this in Cypress. And, I was able to write the assessment, and I wrote it well. I even had extra things. I added reporting, I added screenshots, that's visual testing to the Cypress test. And the funny thing is, in the test, I had to like upload a file on Cypress, and that thing gave me plenty trouble. But I was like, I wasn't going to complete this test if I'm not able to upload that file. Right? Because even when I was doing post-interview, like talking about my code, they asked me how I was able to upload a file on Cypress. I mean, this was 2 years ago, and Cypress then was not like Cypress now. There were little information about how to upload files and all of that. Not now that everybody now knows Cypress and people are giving out their knowledge here and there. So yeah, I was able to do it, and I got the job. Glory be to God. And I'm like, oh, finally, I'm not earning foreign currency. I mean, that's what I've always wanted. So yeah, basically, I mean, this is my career story. This is how I started in QA, right? And one thing that I wanted to say about the visibilities, there was something I did. I want to share that thing with everybody. So there was something I usually do. So I go on sites and I look for bugs, and I report them online. Like I report them in public. I did one with Slack. There was a bug on Slack one time, and I reported it on Twitter. And funny enough, Slack responded to it. And I was like, really? These people, they even see my face. And they were like, oh, they're so grateful that I was able to, look at their platform and spot that issue, and they were going to fix it. After like 2 weeks, they told me they fixed it, and they responded back to me. The funny thing is, the fact that they responded back to me that they fixed it, it meant something to me that, oh, I mean, this is value. Yeah, I've helped them to spot an issue that their full QA team did not spot. And the issue was you could not upload a profile picture on Slack on your mobile, right? And it does an environment issue, right? And they were not able to spot it there, but I was able to do it, and I was able to report it to them, and they were so glad that I did. Another one I did was with CredPal. You know, the loan app in Nigeria. I was trying to borrow money on the app. Let me say it small so that I will not loud it. I was trying to borrow money. I was using the app, and I was just seeing bugs everywhere. I was like, who did this app? Do you understand? And I went to LinkedIn on the CEO's post where it was talking about that I launched an app. Under the comment, I was just firing him that, oh, I found this bug on your app. I found that bug on your app. And the guy just came to my DM. I was like, oh, Esther, I saw your comment. I appreciate that. I appreciate your comment. Would you be able to like help us highlight these things? And I did some, brief doc, and I sent it to him, and he sent it to his team. He said they were going to look into it. And from there, they were able to like solve some of those issues. The app actually became more stable after like 3 to 4 months when I reported those bugs, and then he came back to me and he was like, that he really appreciates, the feedback that I gave them when they launched. And the funny thing is, for every release they make on CredPal, it comes to me and tells me to test the app. It's not like I'm charging him for this. This is something. And there was a time they were going to hire like a lead QA and they wanted someone. He approached me on LinkedIn. I was like, if I was interested in the role, I was like, me lead QA. I'm just like 3 years into this thing. Like, I'm not interested. I was already working with Storyblock then, and I didn't think that they can match what Storyblock was giving me. So I was like, oh, I'll pass on this role, right? So this is me building that relationship with someone online, which is also in turn helping me grow in my career, right? So that curiosity mindset has always been in me, and this is what every tester, I believe, should have. So yeah, I mean, I think I've said enough before I'll go and cast myself. Someone is already saying, Esther, talk about the money you wanted to borrow. I'm not going to say anything. You get what? That time Sapa was dealing with me, just know that. So thank you, Ijoma. I mean, I've said all I can. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Esther. Thank you for sharing your journey, how you moved from point A to point B to point C, and all the amazing things you did to get there. And also to add, you can finally use Scandium to do all the things you couldn't do with code. So Scandium is a no-code test automation tool, so you don't have code, so you can check it out if you have not. Okay, before we go to the Q&A session, just a little commercial break to show you all the amazing things you can do with Scandium. So Scandium is your all-in-one solution for creating and running automated tests for web, mobile, and API, all without a single line of code. Isn't it amazing? So it's built for teams. Cambium can let you collaborate seamlessly, troubleshoot effortlessly, customize tests, even down to each steps, add custom code, and generate ready code to use on other platforms. So you can test across multiple browsers and OS, integrate directly into your development pipeline, and accelerate your quality assurance process, all from one powerful platform. So this webinar is brought to you by Scandium. So I'm going to play a very short video about Scandium so you can see all the amazing things you can do with Scandium.
Hi and welcome. So today I'll be showing you how to use variables in Scandium. So first we'll look at our local variable and then we'll proceed to look at our global variable. So to start with the local variable, I will just go ahead and create a new test and input my starting URL. Click on login. So this is my application under test and I want to log in. So I'll just use standard user, standard underscore user, and my password, so which is secret underscore source. And I'm logged in. A simple login, I will just go ahead and use my assertion to assert that we have this element on this page. Save this, okay? Then I'll proceed to log out. So this is not just all. I also want to do some. I will click here, click on this, and click on login. So this is a wrong login credentials. So I'll click on stop record. Now I'm back here. So to be able to reuse to be able to store a data as a variable and reuse it, I just need to, if you notice on our step 3, which is our type standard user, that has type username, I would just click collapse that button and click on settings. So on settings, this is the text that was assigned to that particular field, which is our username. I can then proceed to say, I want to assign this to a variable.
Okay, I think this is muted, so we can't hear anything any longer. Hello, IJ.
network problems,
Oh, I see.
I believe. Yeah.
Hi guys, let's just hold on for 2 minutes. Igia is going to leave the call. She'll join back and we can continue.
Hi and welcome. So today I'll be showing you how to use variables in Scandium. So first we'll look at our local variable and then we'll proceed to look at our global variable. So to start with the local variable, I will just go ahead and create a new test and input my starting URL. Click on login. So this is my application on that test and I want to log in. So I'll just use standard user, standard underscore user, and my password, so which is secret underscore source, and I'm logged in. A simple login, I will just go ahead and use my assertion to assert that we
Sorry,
have
my
this
network
element on this page.
disconnected for a minute.
Save this. Okay,
So
then
I'm
I'll
going
proceed to
to.
log out. So this is not just all. I also want to do some. I will click here, put in this, and click on login. So this is a wrong login credentials. So I'll click on stop record. Now I'm back here. So to be able to reuse to be able to store a data as a variable and reuse it, I just need to, if you notice on our step 3, which is our type standard user, that has type username, I would just click collapse that button and click on settings. So on settings, this is the text that was assigned to that particular field, which is our username. I can then proceed to say I want to assign this to a variable. So once I click on assign to a variable button, I will call this username, okay, 2. I would save. Now that has been saved as a variable. I will do the same for the password. So I'll come to step 5, click here and click on assign to variable. So I'll use user, okay, user plus 2. I'll save that. All right. Now that I have saved my variable, I want to reuse the same username and password within this test case, right? So if you look at my step 11, which is type username, I would collapse that. And this is an invalid credential, so this will not log me in. I will clear that out and click on insert variable. Insert variable, I have username 2 here, and I would also do the same for step 13, which is type password. So I'll click on this, collapse this. I would remove what we have here, insert variable, use this. All right, so the last thing I need to do here before I run my test is to make use of my assertion. I need to put the assertion here again to be sure that we successfully log in the second time. So all I need to do is to just make a copy of this. So I will duplicate that step. Okay, that was it. So I will duplicate that step. So once that's my assertion step is duplicated, I can then drag and drop it here. So once this is done, I can then go ahead and execute my test. So to see how that goes, we would to do the first login. So we're successfully logged in, then it will log out. And for where we used our login details as variable, it's reusing it again for the second time. So once it logs in, and you can see our test is done playing. So I can close this, and here we are on our dashboard. So that is how you get to use your variable within a test case. So for our global variable, okay, save this test. Save this test one. So for our global variable, all I need to do is I will go to my settings on my navigation bar, click on settings, and on the left hand side of my screen, I have global variables here. So click on that, and I will click on the new variable button. I just have to give it a name. I'll call this GB2 and give it a value. So I would say standard underscore user name G2. So I'll save this. All right, so this is saved. I can go ahead and add that for the password. So I'll do the same for the password. So user pass global 2. All right. So now my global username and password have been saved. So if I should go back to my test, okay, let's just go back to my test. So if I should go back to my test and where I have in step 3 to edit, so rather than using this, okay, let me just delete it. So rather than using this, I can go ahead and say insert variable. So this is it here. I'll click on this for the username, and for the password, I will also do the same. So I'll do the same for password, set variable for the global. And here, since we no longer have, this is type password, can go ahead and password. And finally, for my username, so here, if I execute this test here, we're still going to have the same result. So we're logged in, and yeah, so we're done. So this is how you get to use, and just to note, this variable that we saved on a global variable, we can use it across all test cases within the project.
Awesome. Okay, this is just how to use variables in your Scandium test. So we have different videos actually on intros, how-tos on our YouTube channel. You can check them out. And in the past test drive sessions that we've had, we've shown how to create web, mobile, and API tests in previous editions. And we've also showed how you can get started from the basics, especially if you've never used Scandium before. And we'll also be showing how you can add custom code, export JavaScript code from your Scandium no-code test to. Hello, can anyone hear me?
Yes,
Can anyone
yes,
hear
we
me?
can.
Okay, okay. So you can follow us on subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay updated whenever we drop videos or how-tos that you can actually use. Okay, so because of time, we'll take a few questions before we move into other agenda we have. So it's time for Q&A. I believe Oluwaseyi. Oh, okay. The questions are already coming in. So I saw some people drop questions while our speakers were speaking, but then I had issues with my network, so now I can't find all the questions. So I'm going to start with the one I'm seeing here for Oluwaseyi. My question is, Oluwaseyi, are you here?
Hi, hi, I'm here.
Can anyone hear me?
I can hear you. I said I'm here.
Okay, okay, awesome. So, okay, yes. So the question is, in my organization, my developers sometimes prefer their own approach, even when I suggest improvements with valid reasons. What can I do to encourage them to adopt my ideas? Did you get
Hmm.
that, or should I
Yeah,
take it?
yeah. That's an interesting one. Um, I'm gonna just say that if any of the other speakers can also contribute to this, but So I see it from three different aspects, to be honest. First of all, I see it from the way you carry yourself. For me to use that word. And it's not like the way you dress or particularly like that. It's just there's a certain aura that every QA gives off, and permit me to call it a certain pride in their work. That it's more like the way Esther said when she got on the team, the developers knew that they couldn't just send anything to her. There's a certain aura you have to carry. If you're going to come to me, come correct, that type of thing. And it is just that's the first step to it. Having so much confidence in your belief of quality. And that's not to say that you can't get things wrong. It's just to have there is an aura that you exude that, you know what, I won't let I own my product so much that nothing will get past me. And so when they see that aura from you, they know that okay, I just have to do it. So it's not even a matter of I trust what you are doing. It's a matter of I'm just not going to let it pass if you don't. I'm just not going to let you through because it's my name that is in the mud if eventually something is found out. I am the QA on this project and I'm not going to give you my pass mark. What comes to us, we'll go to CEO together. We'll go and fight there. And that's a joke. But you get the angle I'm coming from. What comes to worst, we'll escalate it to the engineering lead or to the person above us. But I will stand my ground on what I believe to be my metric of quality. And the irony about it is that when you do it the first time, when you do it the second time, it just leaves a mark that people just know who you are when it comes to quality. I was sobbing a bit when Mrs. Bukola said she has never seen anybody that does both QA and security. And in my mind, I'm like, so I'm just suffering in this country like this. Jesus is Lord. But it is some sort of, as much as I want to say I'm suffering, I still enjoy it because it has made me stand out. And what has made me stand out is the same way that Esther said they know her that whenever she gets on a team, she changes the team. Anywhere I have been, by the time I'm leaving, my developers are security conscious. It's just can't happen. I can't be somewhere and you push it. I will disgrace you, quote unquote. And it's not like I'll just go around and say, no, there's a way we play around with it. There's a way we joke around with it. I'll just be like, you sent me beans to test the game, but that kind of thing where it is joking, but I am making you know that I'm not going to let it go. There is that firm foot that you put down that whether you like what I am saying or not, or whether you believe it's not necessary, because I am the QA and because when you push it, it is my name that goes with it. I'm not going to let it go through. It's also the reason why we have what's the word? Trying to remember the methodology for this particular a test report, sort of, where you can say that, you know what, I already stated these vulnerabilities, or I already stated that we should do it this way, but my developer has said that they don't want to do it this way, so I have hands off from it, but I want to state that I stated it, that type of thing. So it's a way of, it's like, in my head, it's stand your ground and give off a certain error that this is the certain amount of quality that I am going to give off, and that's what I have done with every single one of my projects. I leave a certain standard of quality, even down to open source projects that I write. If I'm writing an open source project and I'm about to push it on GitHub, it has to have unit tests, it has to have integration tests at the very least, because that's just the standard of quality I will hold myself to. And when you have that, or you hold yourself to that standard of quality, and you also hold your team to that standard of quality, by virtue of that, they just become more open to ideas because they know that even if we fight till today and tomorrow, we are not going to get our way because he's not going to push it. And don't be scared to say, you can push it, but don't put my name on it. I've said it on 2 or 3 projects where you can go ahead, send it to live, just don't put my name on it. I did not approve this thing to go to live. So whatever happens, when there's a bug, I've said it once to my team, that when there's a bug, don't come to the QA department. We did not approve it. Fix it yourself, anything that goes wrong. And it's not like, if anything goes wrong, you might probably still help out. Well, it's just putting a foot down that, see, this is the standard of quality that we stand for. Anything less, we're not going to accept it. And once they know that, They just become accepted. Most of my QAs, my developers now, and maybe because I developed, so we were friends to a certain extent. They just know that if I should say something, we have to do it, or if not, he will not budge when it comes down to it. So that's my way of doing it. Just enforce, and there's a certain authority that you will push down. But like, let's see. Please, everybody else should
Yeah, can I lend a voice to that question by
continue.
just like 30 seconds to Adigo. Thank you very much, Shay. Okay, so I noticed that from your question, you said developers sometimes prefer their own approach, even when I suggest improvement with valid reasons. Um, as QA, it's from ages and it's still prevalent right now that you always have loggerheads with developers and QA. However, I preach emotional intelligence so that you are able to work well and you are firm. So my question for this person is sometimes we tend to have this superiority complex as testers because we perceive that we're catching bugs or something. So you also have to learn how you communicate with your people. If I have some issues, I want to hear the feedback of the developer. I do not want to presume. I'm not saying that's what you're doing here, but I'm just putting a caveat here so that we're certain. I do not want to presume that my thoughts is the best. I want to hear his perspective. By the time we sit down, we rub minds together, then we can negotiate, quote and unquote. Perhaps his approach really isn't bad after all. Then what I would always recommend is you have test reports. Let your test report begin to speak. You may not, for example, I've also noticed that in a lot of organizations, you probably have testers being a little timid, and there's no room for timidity. I tell my team members that put it for every project that you are leading. I tell them you're the MD CEO of that project when it comes to quality. Put it in your test report. If, for example, it's a senior developer and he's trying to, don't worry, finish, put the test report. Put what your recommendations are there and let it be very clear so that don't do verbal. You can speak, but you must also write it. It must be in writing. Write a mail, put your test report, put your recommendations. If there are items they have mentioned and they've given you excuses, no problem. You can put it there or put what your recommendations are in writing. I bet it is very unlikely that that thing is going to progress without them fixing it. So begin to put your foot down. There's no need to fight. Be very professional about it and let your work speak for you. It may start this way. Don't be timid. Ensure you're doing the right thing. Sometimes you make mistakes. It's okay. I tell people it's okay to make mistakes sometimes. Just don't continue to make the mistakes. Let your report speak for you. Let your work speak for you and be professional about it. I think that's just the part I want to add to it.
Okay, thank you so much for that. You have one more question, so we can just quickly take that so we can move on to the next agenda. So someone is asking if proper unit testing wasn't done on a product before the release, leading to frequent bugs during E2E testing, is there a way to redeem the product?
Okay, right. Thank you very much, Abibola. Your question, you already said proper unit testing wasn't done prior to release. Is that release to production or is that release to QA or the test team? But you also said leading to frequent bugs during end-to-end testing. So I perceive that your question is proper unit testing prior to releasing it to the QA team. Please correct me if I got that right. Now, it is expected when it gets to release. So I'll answer your questions in the two dimensions. Release, it came to you because we assume that it is bugful, and a lot of times, from what I see out there nowadays, a lot of people don't do too much of a good job. And what I tell the developers is QA is not your dustbin. Do your proper work before you bring it to me. I want to be able to see bugs that are not very flimsy bugs, like Esther mentioned. I don't want to see bugs that are just clear, that even a 3-year-old will cite it. I want to see something. So fine, if it wasn't properly done, there's not so much you can do. If you ask me, just ensure, I tell my, you are the goalkeeper of that organization. Ensure you don't keep conceding goals in terms of bugs. They may have cooked all the bugs, but ensure that as a goalkeeper, the defender may make a mistake. Just ensure that you do not concede the goals. So no matter what it is they've cooked, ensure this will not go past me, not on my watch. That's just the best that you can do if it is coming to release. Also, you may also, part of what I try to do is try and get the matrix. We started keeping metrics of test iterations that you do. For example, if you do the first test iteration, when it gets to you, you found so many bugs. I do not like to use number of bugs as a metric because it's very infallible. However, you do your first test iteration, you have this, it goes back for fixes, it comes back again, there's a second test iteration, there's a third test iteration. We keep records of that. The moment you are beginning to see that for every product that comes, whether it's from a specific developer or something, you can now see the matrix. You can use that to write a recommendation to say, we have noticed it has become a pattern that for each product, we always have X amount of test iterations. It perhaps means there's something fundamentally wrong, or maybe not use the word wrong, something that needs to be improved in the development team. Perhaps they need some form of training. Perhaps they need to have secure coding practices. And then you guys can come together and collaborate. So it helps you with the matrix. Keep the matrix of what is happening, and then you can use that as a basis to initiate a discussion with whether it's your CEO, your CTO, whoever it is that can help you. I hope I was able to answer your question.
Thank you so much, Olubukola. Hi, Oluwaseyi, you have your hand raised. Do you want to add something?
Yeah, I noticed something. I'm assuming, and I don't want to do make an assumption, so I do want to ask that if proper unit testing wasn't done, are you referring to the developers testing? Because you do know that QAs also do unit testing. I know we know that QAs also do unit testing. So are we talking about unit testing from the QA team? Because I do know there are teams where a different team does unit testing and a different team does end-to-end testing. So I'm assuming it is unit testing from the from the developer.
Primarily development.
Yeah. So in that case, I will just say a little thing to back up, which is yes. Metrics show. I think we call it bug defect ratio. It's not, sorry, feature defect ratio, where it is if I have to test something 4 times and certain bugs are repeating itself every single time you push it on my table, I will escalate and say that there's something wrong. You are either not doing something right or you don't understand the feature well enough. And that's why this keeps on getting back to me. And then your case of how do you redeem the product? I guess it's sort of productish. Me and Ademola Badmos, we're talking a lot, or we wrote tools around CI/CD. I guess that's where CI/CD sort of comes in play, and automation test, which is, it's a very interesting spectrum where you're like, oh, okay, no problem. I now want to integrate our automation test into the CI/CD pipeline, and it keeps on failing. And then this forces a conversation of, oh, why are our tests keeping on failing? It then puts the developers on the toes to say, okay, I have to fix this. I have to fix this. I have to fix this so that the test can pass. I've seen a lot of scenarios where, oh, unit testing wasn't done properly, and now we're even in live. But all I did was introduce automation testing into the GitHub Actions pipeline and then pass the report to Slack. And every single day, the CEO is seeing 20-something test fails, 20-something test fails, 20-something test fails. After a while, he's going to ask and say, what's going on? Why do our tests keep on failing? And the developers will have no choice but to then, let's look into it. Let's fix this so that the test can pass. So that's another angle you can look at it from.
Thank you so much, Oluwaseyi, for adding your 2 cents. And thank you so much, Olubukola. Okay, before we go to the next agenda, I want to really appreciate our speakers for today. So if you have any more questions, you can connect with them on LinkedIn and ask them. Thank you so much, Olubukola. I know it's very early. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much, Oluwaseyi. Thank you so much, Esther, for sharing your journey with us from how you moved from point A to from flutter wave to story blog. I know a lot of people were inspired, and I definitely know a lot of people will definitely reach out to you to ask you more questions. So I hope you accept them with open arms. Thank you so much. Okay, so for our next agenda, we have the trivia games. Okay, Esther has shared her LinkedIn. You can connect with her as well. Yes, connect with them, reach out, and even if you don't have anything to say, you can just thank them for an awesome session. Yes, I really enjoyed it, and I know you did as well. So for now, we are starting with our trivia. So um, the screen will be coming up soon. So I believe the link has already been shared on the chat. So click on the trivia game link to participate if you want to. So there are some awesome prizes to be won. So if you're on this call, try as much as possible to participate. At least you're not just going home with knowledge, you're also going home with cash prizes as well. Okay, Ibrahim, please take over.
So guys, you can click on the link on the in-call messages to join the game.
Nice. We have 10 players ready. 11. We need more people. We need at least 20 people. Let's get it to 20 players. Okay. Does anyone having issues joining? Does anyone want us to wait for them? Or we can just get started? Is anyone struggling to join? Okay, nice. Okay. Looks like it's reducing. Okay. 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 Let's just give 1 minute. Just 1 minute. Yes. If you cannot join in 1 minute, then I don't know how not working. What's the issue you're having? Um, okay, I think you can get started now. Brian, we can go ahead with 11 players. Yeah, we don't have much time. Please be Zuma. Yeah, nice. Mm. Script is leading. Haha. Uma, I'm rooting for you. Mm-mm. Script is still leading. Ah, who is B? Voila. What? Which type of testing verifies that subject can handle unexpected inputs or condition? Post testing. Wow, that's new. Well, well done. Ah, script say not under my watch. Please, I want all of you to defeat script. Mm. Asma, you can do it. I need someone to dethrone script. Please do it for me. Ah, everybody needs to answer this one. Hey, somebody failed it. Script still going strong. More questions to go. You can do it. Don't give up.
This is where I take my bow. Next questions, I'll miss it. Thank you for that.
Why? Script, why? Okay. Last one. Let's see if we can dethrone script. Yeah, the margin was much already. Encryption. Okay, let's see who the winner is going to be. Ah, 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 ah. Script, congratulations. Please unmute your mic. I already know you, so.
Please give it to the
Script, congratulations.
just push it down to the next person. I'll just have my own fun. Don't worry. Push it like do second, third, and fourth, please.
So should we give the prize to the second person?
Yeah, give it to the second person.
Script. Okay, who
Yeah,
is
give it to the
B?
second person.
IJ, just start from the third person.
Oh, yeah, B too. Okay, Asma, today is your lucky day. Oh my God.
Wow, this seems like what happened to Esther. Thank you.
So we are donating a 1-year free Scandium subscription to the first 3 people. B, Script, A. So you can use Scandium for free for 1 full year. 1 full year.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Olubukola.
Appreciate that.
Congratulations,
Thank you.
Oluwaseyi.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Asma. So yes,
Thank you.
yes, you can use that. Yes. All thanks to our CEO, AZ. AZ, thank you very much. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, okay, because we've spent so much time on this call. So because of time, so let's see what's next on our agenda. I know I'm definitely going to rush it. So while my screen is coming up, or I just okay. So while my screen is coming up, our Slack, the link to our Slack channel is already on our chat. So please try as much as possible to join us on Slack if you are not in our Slack community. Join us on Slack. We have amazing things going on there, and we share a lot of updates, events on Slack as well. So once you're on our Slack, you get first-hand information about anything related to Scandium. So I urge you to join us on Slack. So let me know when you can see my screen. Okay, while you're joining us on Slack, follow us on social media as well. If you have not followed us on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. Please follow us. The links are already shared on the chat as well. So what's next? We'll definitely be having Scandium sometime next year. So Scandium is now a quarterly event. So join us next quarter. Or that's why I mentioned follow us on our socials or join us on Slack, so that when we're about hosting the next test drive, you'll be informed. And as always, we invite awesome speakers and we talk about awesome topics that will leave you very enlightened. So visit us at app.getscandium.com and try it out if you've never tried out Scandium. So maybe a trial can convince you. So share focus for you and your team. Also invite your team to to use Scandium. Again, follow us on social media and stay engaged on our posts. So I think that's it. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining today's session. Thank you so much, our speakers. Please try as much as possible to follow us on our socials so that when we are talking about the next test drive, you stay updated. Thank you so much, Olubukola. Thank you so much, Oluwaseyi. Thank you so much, Esther, for joining us today. From out of your busy schedule, you made out time to join us. We really appreciate it. And thank you so much, our amazing audience, for staying till the end of the session. So remember, follow us on socials, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Instagram. Join us on Slack. Our Slack channel link is there. Check out app.getscandium.com to see the amazing things you can do with Scandium. You can even use this link to book a demo session as well for yourself and your team. And we are always ready to help, to guide you, whatever need you might have. So once again, thank you so much, everyone. Do have a great day. Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Bye, Jama.
Bye,
See
Thank
guys.
you,
you
everyone. Have
next
a great
quarter.
weekend.
Bye, everyone.
Have a good week.
Bye.